doing a lot of great stuff. Lejon, thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you.
So great to have
Jessica.
you.
You know, it's great to be here. I I can just say how wonderful it is to have a platform to share yourself, myself to the world. So Maeya TV, mwah, mwah, mwah. I love you, and you guys are just the best. And I love anyone out there in the audience who is watching. Because if I did hit this and no one's there, you know.
So, so tell us about the work that you've been doing.
Okay. I gotta start off with one of the first things that I did was a film called Stigmata, and I played the homeless person in that film, and that was 1999. So I got into SAG in 1998, and I've had to do extra work, and I was in Austin Powers 2 and 3, and War of the Worlds, artificial intelligence. So therefore, got to work with Steven Spielberg several times. I mean, being an extra in the business in the beginning for myself was the best way to enter it because the pressure's not on you. You know, once you're an extra, you can watch the principles and the people that you admire and you love and you want to become, yet you don't say one word. So you just have to have the right look and follow the scene in the background to make it realistic. And but the best way to advance, the best way to move up into the business for myself. Some people can start off right as big stars for the beginning. I wasn't afforded that, so being an extra though helped create me to be the principal actor that I am now. SAG member for 27 years now.
And as extra, you're in a lot of films that
Yes.
I'm sure we'd be familiar with.
Probably so.
Mm-hmm.
My main claim to fame, I have to say, is the franchise Pirates of the Caribbean. And I was blessed to be an extra in Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, the very first one, 2003. And then I was brought on to Dead Man's Chest. And on that film, I worked on the film for an entire year. Dead Man's Chest, I was a Black Pearl pirate, again, Captain Jack Sparrow's rifleman. And we worked, again, I personally worked on the film for an entire year. We went to the island called Dominica for 3 months. It had a rainforest in the center. And so that rainforest in the center was where we filmed all of our jungle scenes. And it's funny because I did have a stunt double on the film, but I did my own swimming. The director said, "Do you want your stunt double to swim for you in these scenes?" I said, "No, I'm a pretty good swimmer." So I got to swim in those scenes as we were being chased by the natives, and just an adventure you would never believe. And then as an extra put on there, after I was there for 6 months, we were in the Bahamas, and that's when I got an upgrade to get a principal role. And I got to this Black Pearl. Now we were in the Bahamas on the Atlantic Ocean, and I get to set, and the first AD says to me, "Lejon, go see Gore Verbinski right now." That's the director, Gore Verbinski. And so I go and see Gore, and he says, "Lejon, I'm going to give you a speaking line in the movie that will not, you won't be an extra anymore. You'll be a principal, and you'll be paid a lot more money." I'm like, "I'm ready for it." So he said, the line is, "We must have hit a reef." I said, "We must have hit a reef." Okay, he said, "Now, but I want it in a Caribbean accent." Okay, so practice that. Come back to me when you're ready to shoot. So I was like, saying, "Okay, we must have hit a reef." And then I went to the kitchen area and tried to just get my have space and silence so I could work on this. But God sent to me a wonderful person, a wonderful human being, was one of the aides on the ship, and he was working. He was a native Bahamian, and so I saw him working in the kitchen, bringing supplies in. I said, "Hey, how would you say we must have hit a reef?" And he said, "We must have hit the reef." I said, "What? We must have hit the reef?" I said, "Okay, we must have hit the reef." So anyway, I practiced it, and then I got to the point where I felt really good about it. Went to Gore Verbinski, and I said, "Mr. Verbinski," or Gore, I called him, "I'm ready." So they said, "Okay." So they set me up, and all these cameras all over. We were on the Black Pearl, again, on the Atlantic Ocean, and there's 500 people on this production, from cast to crew and the press and different people like that. And so at the point that I'm on the side of the Black Pearl, and my line is, again, though, Gore said, "Action," and I said, "We must have hit the reef." And the wind was blowing, my hair was out, and it was blowing well. And so then we did it maybe a couple of more takes, and then when he said print, cut. And and he said, "Lejon, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Lejon Stewart." And then all 500 people were on the boat and they applauded. And I was like, am I dreaming? Is this really happening? But it did happen, and it continues to happen. But Pirates was like the one that really, they say, put me on the map.
Mm-hmm. Now, in addition to doing all these big films, you've also done stage work.
Yes, yes.
So,
Yeah, in fact, my very first, in fact, that's interesting because the very first thing that I really did as an actor, well, besides my brother and I playing, every time, when I was growing up, every time we saw a movie and we liked the film, when the movie went off, my brother Leon and I, who's up in heaven, hey Leon, and when the movie went off, we would continue the movie. And you know, we'd have to just do the whole action of how we decided the story to continue. So that was really my first acting, but the stage was my backyard or my kitchen. But the first stage production that I worked on was through my church, All People's Christian Church in Los Angeles. And we decided to do a series of plays. And the play that they chose was A Raisin in the Sun by Lorraine Hansberry. Very highly acclaimed African-American play. It won Tonys. I believe that Sidney Poitier was the actor on Broadway performing that role. So in the play, he has a wife named Ruth. Ruth, my mother was playing Ruth because my mother is a member of the church choir, and my parents joined All People's Christian Church in 1957, and so I was born a little bit after that, way after the year later. Anyway, we did these series of plays, and that's when I found myself on the stage playing this role as Travis, a 10-year-old boy, and just loving the experience, and I absorbed it so much that I knew the entire play. And there were times when the adults would forget their lines, but they always knew that next to me, I could feel them. They'd be like, I could see them thinking or looking very weird, and I would say, "She must be running," and then just enough, and they, so that was just a great experience, and that empowered me to know that I wasn't afraid of being in front of hundreds and maybe not thousands, but many people on the stage. But I felt comfortable. My mom was there, and that made it work.
And you kept working on the stage.
Yes.
And you were recently in a very cool play.
You're gonna make me brag now.
Yes. Play, go for it.
I
Shakespeare on the Rocks.
Shakespeare on the Rocks, and this is an adaptation of Shakespeare's greatest works, produced by Tommy Anderson, and Tommy Anderson connected with George Cantero. These guys are both vets. So our host and the reason for doing Shakespeare was to raise funds for our veterans, which of course, can we give them any more than what we have taken away from them? And so I was so grateful to be involved in doing a play, Shakespeare. And what's very interesting is when I went to my very first reading on this play, they had me read with one guy, and I actually did really well. Because to pronounce Shakespeare words, it's not the easiest. But the beauty in that is that when I was a high school teacher at Colton High School, I taught my students Shakespeare. So I was again full circle, my God. I didn't know at that time when I tried to make them, and they fell in love with Shakespeare because I was so enthused about our greatest, writer of all times. Next to some others, but anyway. So to be able to full circle teach Shakespeare in 1995 and 96 and 97, and then to all of a sudden perform Shakespeare for the Hollywood American Legion, which is a great even location. Here we are, south of the Hollywood Bowl, north of the Dolby Theater in Hollywood. I was like, yes, I have really I've arrived even more. It gets better and better and better in my world. So we had one run of Shakespeare on the Rocks at the Hollywood American Legion on Highland Avenue. And there's word that we're not done. So, we'll have to let you guys know, but I believe that we will be performing this piece again. And again, I had the pleasure of performing a monologue of Iago from Othello. But in this piece, you'll see Romeo and Juliet, you'll see, all of Shakespeare's greatest works. There's Lady Macbeth, and, all of his great characters. So
Shakespeare, his works have been performed many, many times by many different people. What is it that made this production special?
Definitely me. I mean, I'm honest, but there's a time when you have to say what is right. No, no, with the entire cast, stellar cast on every level. But particularly even my role, I told the director I wanted to perform Iago. 'Cause I think I kind of looked like an Iago, don't I? Cunning, not trustworthy, huh? Hey.
I'm not going to say you're not trustworthy, but I think you could be very cunning.
Okay, well, when acting, I can be not trustworthy. So
That's
playing
the great thing about acting.
exactly, that's why I love it. Yes, another extension of yourself, of who you are, who you can be, without hurting anyone, and as well entertaining. It's the best.
And you've also been working in the short film area. You have a short film that's doing the circuits right now.
Yes.
Could you please tell us about that?
Okay, yes. I will start off by saying, when I talk about my short film, and I'm gonna keep the magazine like this for right now. Okay, so I want to say that this past December 2025, the Culver City Film Festival had films from all over the world entered in the film festival. I was so blessed to have two films in that film festival. And that, so they were both short films, and the first one was Echoes of the Forest, where I played the shadow, evil, cunning. And it's a great story how these young kids are sucked into their video games, and I am the evil dark force that they don't want to meet. Okay, so that was there. It was written by Elijah Perry, who's just a great little young guy that I admire so much, and I want to plug his name in there. And then I was also another short film that I did that was there in the film festival was called The Job, and The Job was written and directed by Craig Railsback, as well as a story that was derived from Dr. Heather Whitham Joseph. And Raina Walzinger did the music, just won an award for that, and she also did the AI effects. Donnelly Heising, the beautiful, captivating Donnelly Heising performed on that film as my savior, nemesis, capturess, and all and more. And so from having the job there at the film festival, I had a great honor to win Best Actor for all short films. And so we're talking about 350 short films were shown there, and I won Best Actor. This short film that I'm about to share with you is another one, and it's called Lucy the Lion. Okay, so I'm gonna run with short films for the way. Oh, before I talk about Lucy the Lion, I gotta give you this one really quick. I also had the pleasure of playing my very first gay guy in a prison love story in a short film called Ignominious. Okay, so I had to throw that in there. I mean, I've had a year, and it was great. Again, though, I believe in representing the world and letting people know that if you are who you are, only God, in my opinion, has an opinion. Okay. Anyway, so then, but this short film, Lucy the Lion, was directed by Calman Apple, and Calman Apple was nominated for an Academy Award 11 years ago. So he directed this film. It was written by Natalie Apchi, brilliant woman. She wrote the story, and she also stars in the story. And that symbol right there with the arms up, that's our symbol on the film. That it's like, it's women power, it's people power, it's love power, it's power for what is right. So she's a single mom, and all she needs to do, she's just trying to get a job. And the day that she's gonna go for a job interview, her husband, ex-husband, shows up, and he's supposed to watch her 7-year-old girl, or maybe she's even 6-year-old girl. And and she comes and he said, "Oh, I've got this new job offer. I can't make it." So then she has to go to a job interview, try to decide what she's going to do, and she has to take her daughter with her to a job interview. You think she's gonna get that job? So once she gets there, in the parking lot, she leaves the girl in the car and says, "Okay, be good and don't go out the door." And like minutes, okay. Anyway, and so I played a Vietnam vet who's wheelchair bound, and not really nice. I'm disgusting, in fact. But it's pivotal because as she leaves her little girl in the car and she sees me rolling around the parking lot, it makes us realize I'm not going to leave my child prey to something like that. So as she sees me, she pivots back to the car, gets her daughter out of the car, and takes her into the job interview. So yeah, so this is Lucy the Lion, and we had right up here in Original Magazine by Mickey Solar, and this is published in the UK, and it is Worldwide Magazine, and we are honored to be in this. This was the December 2025 issue.
How did you get involved working with an Oscar-nominated director?
Oh wow, great question. And there's actually there's a whole article about how did I meet Calvin Apple, so we have this picture here because I was on a webisode show that was written by this young lady, Cindy Fang, graduate from USC, and her partner Peter Podgorski. So they wrote this crazy meter maid story. We're in the streets of Los Angeles giving tickets, and but you see the the way that we look. So that's how I got, and that's how this picture ended up here. And then when I says, how did I meet Calvin Apple? Because Cindy Fang, Calvin Apple approached her and said that he wanted to shoot this film, Lucy the Lion, and he needed a really good actor, etc. And so she recommended me to him. And okay, so well, the first thing that she recommended him for me to was Homeward Bound. We did a play, and we raised funds. We raised $40,000 for the homeless people at the Mission in Skid Row, downtown LA. So that's how I met Calvin Apple doing Homeward Bound. It was a series of many theaters and theater groups in LA do a series of plays all over. So I was one of the series of plays that Calvin Apple directed, and we raised $40,000, like I said, which is awesome. And then from there, Calvin and I knew what I could do. And he said, "Hey, Lejon, I've got a role for you, and it's called Lucy the Lion. You're going to be a disgusting Vietnam vet. Why not?" And
so, are there any other projects that you have coming out, or are there any kinds of roles that you really want to do in the future?
Projects I've got. Well, I guess some things we can't talk about until so you have signed the contract. But I'm so blessed that after even performing Shakespeare on the Rocks, which was January 23rd. January 23rd. I've had some many interviews and meetings with people that seem very, 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 very interested, and so. Nothing new now, but that was only hasn't even been a month yet. But things are moving in that direction, and it's just it's so awesome. It's wonderful.
Well, congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Keep doing your great work. And where can our viewers find out more about you?
Well, I'm on Instagram, and my Instagram name is Lejon Pirate. That's LejonPirate. And I'm on Facebook, Lejon Stewart. And if you want to befriend me, write me a message saying that you saw me on Maeya TV, because I love you and I appreciate you being out there. We can't have a show without you guys.
Yes, thank you so much, Maeya TV viewers. Now stick around. We have more great interviews coming up, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.